It is prediction time for the UEFA Women's Nations League semifinals with Olympic implications on the line. What's going on, guys? It's Manny G back here with you on Football with Flags. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's get to it. Straight away into the first semifinal we go. It's Netherlands taking on Spain. And if you remember right, these two met in the quarterfinal of the World Cup last August. It was a 2-1 win for Spain. And really on paper, though, Spain dominated in terms of statistics, 28-10 in shots. They had 62 to 38% possession, 675 completed passes. Meanwhile, Netherlands only with a 58% passing accuracy in that game. And they also committed 22 fouls against Spain. Now, as you can see there, those are some potential formations. We could see these two sides play against one another. But obviously Martins, Medema coming back, obviously going to be healthy for this game. Berenstein, the speed and the pace she has, especially being able to go against defenders with space in front of her is going to be very important. But for Spain, they're going to have to combine and move off the ball, which they do incredibly well, especially in the final third. Look to maybe try and make Netherlands chase the game, especially in possession. But Netherlands are just going to have to be smart with their numbers in the midfield, making sure they get numbers behind the ball. And of course, just avoid 1v1s. I think if they stay patient in their defense, not allow Spain to get too confident, being able to just come at them, take players on, and create gaps in their back line and in their defensive structure. I think that's going to be very important. But for Spain, obviously, they're going to have to stretch the field as much as possible, transition off of turnovers. And likewise for Netherlands, obviously, we know if they do play with a 3-5-2 or something similar that allows them to be able to split gaps with passes often and early when they can create turnovers. And again, like we said, if Berenstein and others get some space either in behind or at least to come at defenders, that's going to be crucial as well. And for those who have followed along with us since last summer during the Women's World Cup, this type of slide will look pretty similar to you. Of course, seeing how we think both of these sides are going to line up, we've got Netherlands in a 3-5-2, Spain with that 4-3-3, more of a false 9. And we'll start with Netherlands. That central midfielder in those 5 is going to be very important, possibly played by Medema. I know Jill Ward has played in that spot as well. Going to be very instrumental in helping out Martins, Berenstein, and others get the ball forward, give some depth, and allow an option 2 on top of the 18, maybe a bit farther back. Hopefully maybe even just being able to keep possession around that final third. But again, this type of formation allows them to transition quickly and open up a lot of space, penetrate gaps like we talked about before, but they do leave a lot of space in behind too when they are out of position and looking to move forward and find more space. So they're going to have to be able to condense quickly into a defensive structure if they do lose the ball, because Spain are going to be very quick to try and counter and get on top of them as much as possible, especially knowing, again, their 1v1 ability going against defenders, how technical they are, how well they can move off the ball in their possession as well. And again, like we talked about in the previous slide, the way Spain can create combinations in the final third, easy 1-2s, give and goes, third man runs, what have you, to create opportunities, especially even getting to the end line and being able to cut the ball back too. So a lot that goes into how these two are going to prepare and set up against one another. Obviously, I would love to see Ginny Hermoso. She's played in different positions, but I like to see her in that false 9 role just because she can be such a good outlet with the 3 in the midfield, moving forward, along with her outside backs too that get involved from time to time. But again, I think this is a great matchup with two formations that really, I think, complement each other well in terms of how much it could open the space up for both sides. A good back and forth game that we could see for both of these teams. But in the end, I am going to go with Spain taking the victory, possibly 2-0, 2-1, something like that, pretty similar to what we saw last summer. And I do believe that the defending world champions make it into the first ever final for the UEFA Women's Nations League. Now on to the second semifinal, Germany and France, of course, the hosts for the Olympics this summer. And again, a lot of different possibilities for formations that we could see for each of these sides. I really like Germany in a 4-4-2, a pretty traditional format. I think they complement that formation very well. I have seen a couple of games here recently that they've run that 4-2-2-2, and I think that does just leave a lot of space out wide. Obviously, they can look to tweak with that, but just how it looks on paper doesn't really please my eye very much. And for France, could possibly see them in a 4-3-3. I know that they've run that a decent amount, as well as a 4-1-4-1. I know that they've been in a 4-2-2 or 4-4-2, but I really think a 4-1-4-1 complements them very well also. But again, these two sides played a couple of years ago, most recently in the Euros in the semi-final. Germany with a 2-1 win there. Of course, Alexandra Popp so instrumental in how well this team does and how far they can potentially go. Obviously, they're looking to try and get back to the type of team that they were before this World Cup debacle that they had last summer, and we know how dominant this team can be when they are in good form and in good spirits, but they're going to have to dominate a physical presence early, which we know that they can. A very physical team, a very tough, strong team that grinds you down. And again, they've had a lot of success in the past with the Olympics. This is a great opportunity in a new tournament, in a new setting, to try and build that resume even more. And for France, of course, no Wendy Renard for this game, but they're going to have to make sure that they track runners and anticipate runners, especially like players like Alexandra Popp and others. It's one thing to just keep an eye on her, but it's another to constantly be aware of where she is, because she can pop up at any moment and strike and take you down. But again, for France, these are two great opportunities with this tournament and, of course, the Olympics this summer to finally get some hardware. We've seen them fall short a number of different times in the past, and I know that they just want to get over that hump. And really, this is the time for no more excuses. They've got to be able to control the midfield, in my opinion, as much as possible in this 90 minutes, especially knowing the type of physicality and the type of game that Germany can play. Looking at the formations for these two sides, I've got Germany staying in a 4-4-2, pretty traditional, but for France, a 4-1-4-1. And I'll tell you why. For Germany, I think this is a great opportunity to obviously open the field up, even with that traditional sense, all the way to the touchline, being able to create some overloads to combine out wide near the touchline and in the half spaces, not only to drive inside, but of course we know how many times they want to deliver the ball in the box for Alexandra Popp when possible. Between her anticipation and accuracy with headers, the way she's able to create opportunities for herself really out of nothing. Even when teams are marking up fairly well, she still finds a way to get her head on the ball or her foot somewhere in the box, even if it's just kind of a scrap in there and the ball's bouncing around. So I think that could be very important. But for France, too, they're going to have to make sure they keep numbers strongly in the midfield, too. I think having that number 6, that middle, that central midfielder right in front of the back four is going to be very important defensively to help out with Popp and others, but also moving forward in the attack, especially trying to get their outside backs involved more. Again, we know how important Diani is. She scored a great goal against Germany in their previous meeting, ripped one from outside the box. Again, I think she's going to play a crucial part, along with Le Sommer, Henry, and others, to try and make sure, of course, that this team puts and produces a number of really good chances for them in the final third. But again, I think both of these sides are going to have a really strong lineup. I think this game could very well go 0-0 all the way to extra time, or could potentially see a 1-1 game going to extra time. But for me, I do feel like we'll see an extra 30 minutes, if not a penalty shootout. But I do have Germany prevailing. I think that, again, both of these sides are very hungry for this type of opportunity. I think we're going to see France take advantage of being on home soil this summer for the Olympics. But right now, I do have Germany advancing to the final. So there you have it, a quick look at the bracket. Of course, Spain and Germany headed to the final. Netherlands and France each going to the third place game, and that is very, very important. Remember, keep in mind, France are the hosts, so they have already qualified for the Olympics. There are only 2 European spots, which means if this does happen, Spain and Germany take those 2 positions. Meanwhile, Netherlands are eliminated, and the third place match would not mean anything. So just keep that in mind for reference if you haven't seen our previous videos. Guys, as always, thanks again so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Plenty more international content coming your way, especially the next 4 or 5 months, with a lot of tournaments and things starting to unfold in that part of the game across the globe. And of course, we want you to be a part of it. Make sure you stay tuned as well. We'll have third place and final predictions once these games finish up here in a couple of days. And as always, guys, I hope you have a blessed day, and we will see you soon. Peace.